lumbered into the kitchen. Since Dorothy was asleep, I didn't fuss at him for tracking up my clean floor with mud, but I gave him a harsh glance. He was too tired to notice. He gave me a kiss on the cheek and went upstairs to take a bath. Through the screen door, a cool breeze pushed into the room. I got up thinking I should close the door before Dorothy got chilled, and that's when I saw the man. He was outlined against the screen mesh. This is the man who kidnapped the Lindbergh baby, I thought, and I knew he'd come for my Dorothy. I stood up, determined to fight. I had me a gun in the pantry. Lord, please don't let him see my fear. My knees twitched and shook under my cotton dress. What do you want? The man opened the door and stepped into my kitchen. The smell of corn whiskey filled the room. He was so young, barely out of his teens, limp blonde hair combed over to one side. His eyes were deep set, dark, empty, hardly no lashes at all. His cheekbones were high. Something nagged at me, but I couldn't place his face. His shoes were crusted over and muddy, and I realized he'd been walking through my garden. I didn't ask you to come into my house. Now, did I? He reached into my dish strainer, yanked out my best butcher knife, and pointed it at me. Then he slogged forward, his dark eyes burning. He had not come for my baby girl. He had come for me. Take your clothes off and get on the floor. I most certainly will not. He grabbed my arm, making me cry out, and pressed the tip of the knife against my throat. Blood slid down my neck and dripped onto my dress. I closed my eyes and waited for him to plunge it into me. He grabbed my collar and ripped my dress to the waist. The fabric tore, and my breast popped out of my slip. He put the knife to my neck and scraped the blade across my skin, but I didn't feel it. Upstairs, I heard water running through the pipes and splashing in the tub. Charlie couldn't hear me, but this boy didn't know it. Seconds passed, and I screamed. The man jumped back. Get out of my house. My husband's going to blow your head off. He's right upstairs. Listen. The man looked up. Then he turned his eyes on me again. I knew that he would kill Charlie, too. Dorothy woke up. Her cries filled the room. The man looked puzzled. Then he turned to the baby. He seemed to have forgotten all about getting his head blown off. He walked across the room, lowered the blade to the pink blanket, and flipped it back with the blade. Dorothy screamed. I couldn't breathe. Blood dripped down my neck as I watched him lean toward the baby, spellbound by her cries. Upstairs, the water continued to gush into the tub. Oh, Lord, would it never stop? I stepped backward, reached blindly for the pantry. I grabbed Charlie's shotgun. It was loaded since the newspaper first carried the news of the murders. I was no country fool. I planned to raise me a big family. Nothing but God would stop me. The man stared at Dorothy, his back to me. I lifted the gun and took aim down the length of the barrel. You old hog, you! Get out of my house! He turned and lunged towards me. Dorothy was screaming. How could my Charlie not hear? Lord Jesus, I prayed. Let me shoot him in the heart. I squeezed the trigger, and the blast knocked me backward against the stove. I blinked and saw the jagged hole in his stomach. Blood poured out of his belly. He looked down, touched his fingers to the blood, and I took aim again. Then he slumped to the floor, still clutching the butcher knife. All at once, Dorothy's scream stopped. Charlie came running down the steps, dripping wet, a towel around his waist. His eyes bugged as he looked at the man who was curled on his side, gasping for air. Oh, mercy! Merciful heavens! I lowered the gun and looked at my kitchen. Blood was splattered across my pine cabinets, across the counters, across Dorothy's bassinet. Dorothy! I ran to her. She looked up at me. Her face puckered, and she let out a long wail. Her legs thrashed. I saw a red spot on her gown. I jerked up the fabric. A long, ugly scratch ran up the length of her side. In the bassinet itself was a piece of buckshot, which had grazed her. I gathered her into my arms. Charlie was bent down, feeling the man's neck for a pulse. He's still alive. Gussie, what happened? He tried to hurt me, Charlie. Gussie, we've got to get a doctor. Do you know who this boy is? No, and I don't care. Let's just get the sheriff. This is Claude Wentworth's son. His youngest boy, Sawyer. You remember him, don't you? I felt my breath leave my body. Claude Edmund Wentworth was the president of the bank where Charlie worked. He owned half the town. He once met Charles A. Lindbergh in Washington, D.C. His youngest son, Sawyer, had a reputation. He was the one who'd slammed old Mrs. Beatty's cat into a stone wall. The youngest boy, Claude Jr., had a son, Claude III, who was a few months older than my Dorothy. I stared at my husband. Tell me what to do, Charlie.
Why didn't you just lock the door?
I've never locked a door in my life. Look at my dress, Charlie. Look what he did to me. He told me to take off my clothes and get on the floor. That's what he said.
Oh, Gussie,
Charlie said, his forehead wrinkled.
We'll never prove it was self-defense. I can hear the Wentworths now. They'll say you thought he was a prowler, that your nerves got the better of you, that you shot an innocent boy.
He wasn't innocent.
What if Mr. Wentworth fires me, Gussie?
He won't. Not when he hears the truth.
Maybe he already knows it. He'll die before dragging his boy's name through the mud. He'll run me out of town first.
I patted Dorothy's back, but she rooted from my breast. I imagined having to take in boarders or selling apples for a nickel, eating up the profits to keep from starving. Or I could work as a maid. The crash had reduced most of us to paupers. Jobs were hard to find and harder to hold. I looked up and Charlie was staring at me. Let's bury him now, Charlie. I couldn't believe what I'd said. The boy's eyelids flickered.
Gussie, no! He's not even dead. Can't you see that for yourself?
I don't care. I'll do it myself. Look, he's already fainted again. Charlie's face darkened.
No, we won't do this.
Oh, yes, we will, Charlie. You're the one who's afraid of the Wentworths, not me. I wanted to call the sheriff. You can't have it two ways, unless you know something I don't. We'll bury him at the east end of the garden. There's not much limestone there. The ground is soft. Then we'll never talk about it again. Ever. Not to a living soul.
We'll burn in hell, Gussie,
he said and walked out of the room, leaving me with the bleeding man and my screaming baby. I wrapped the boy in an old sheet. He struggled weakly, batting the linen like something in a cocoon.
Mother,
he cried. I felt no pity. I remembered the knife at my throat. I remembered the faces of the dead women in the newspaper. There was a full moon that night, and Charlie came downstairs. We carried the boy to the edge of the garden. We dug in silence, grunting softly when our shovels struck rock. We seemed to work forever, digging through the night. We rolled the boy's body into the hole, where it fell with a loud thump. I heard a muffled moan.
Mother?
I picked up the shovel. From the house, I could hear Dorothy's wails. It was me who wanted to howl at the moon, but I shoveled harder, getting into a rhythm. I could still see the sheet poking up white through the soil. There's no way I could plant vegetables over this. Just the idea of cabbage or corn growing over a dead boy took my appetite clean away. I guess I could plant zinnias here, with marigolds and sunflowers around the edges, but not another thing. That summer, my garden produced enormous cucumbers and cabbages. Corn was so sweet and soft you could cut it from the cob with a spoon. My tomatoes were full of red juice. Charlie wouldn't go near the east end of the garden, even though the zinnias were knee-high and it was the coolest place to sit. My sunflowers were large as dinner plates, but I didn't bring any blossoms into the house. Instead, I crawled under the fence and picked wildflowers in the field. Honeysuckle, Queen Anne's lace, black-eyed Susans. All summer, the Wentworths ran a full-page ad in the newspaper, showing their crazy son's solemn face. They offered $50 for news of his whereabouts. They, too, had been affected by the Lindbergh case.